Hello, this is Stanislaw and I'm the author of Light Academy YouTube channel. Today I want to share a very inspiring story of Marc Mangus. So definitely watch this video until the end. It is very inspiring. I'm the author of book Map to Prosperity. This book can change your life. It is about how to have better health, better relationship and better financial situation. So grab one copy on Amazon in the link in the description. My mission is to inspire people to change their lives and show them a way to a life where they can start living their full potential. I'm very happy that you are watching this YouTube channel. So if you are interested in very inspiring content, subscribe and follow this channel and leave us some comments. Mark and I talked about the fact that life often leads us through pain because we don't listen to our intuition. We do not respect our body and do not perceive what it really needs. We do not listen to our life because life are often telling us through the situation we experience what we need to change. Regardless of what you are experiencing in your life right now, believe that you are in the right place, in the right time. So don't be scared of what is going on right now. Mark was overweight. He had diabetes and other health problems, but he understood how he could change his mindset, his habits, and how he can change his whole life. In fact, we need to go back into balance. Watch this inspirational story until the end and leave us some comments. What is your story? How you got into the topic of health and longevity, and what personally motivated you to focus on this area?
So yeah, that was kind of a series of events, but it was increasingly more problems with my health because I found out later that I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to the messages that were being given to me about my health. And like a lot of men, I was focused on achieving things, not being healthy, right? So I was externalizing all of my sense of myself and my sense of being successful in the world and all those kinds of things, and really sacrificing my body to do it. Too many long hours, too much traveling, not eating right, not exercising right, all the things, right? And eventually, I was very unhealthy at the time I got into a car accident in 2011. And that, of course, just made everything much worse. So, and really complicated my recovery. So in that accident, I had 12 discs in my back that were injured, herniated or otherwise injured. And that began a 12-year period where I experienced debilitating chronic pain. I could barely work. I had to take, heavy medication, opioids, pain medication, to even get any relief at all. And my health declined even further to the point where in 2013, frankly, I was suicidal. I didn't see any reason to keep living if it was going to be living with that much pain. So I came to a crossroads at that point, and I had to decide, do I figure this out or do I leave the planet? And I'm still here, so I decided to stick with it and figure it out. And that's when I began really investigating a lot of alternative healing modalities, from acupuncture to chiropractic to energy work of different kinds like Reiki, and also nutrition. And it led me on a long road to recovery. And we can go into more detail on that, but that's kind of the basic building blocks of my story there.
Okay, it sounds like a very powerful story. And when was the main turning point for you when you decided to change your life?
Well, it's interesting because, I decided to live, but I still hadn't really, I wasn't really yet understanding what I would have to change and what I would take on and what I would give up to actually become healthy. Like a lot of people, I believe that I could incrementally change, or I could incrementally decide, well, I'm going to keep this part of my life the same, but I'm not make too many changes, but I'm going to get healthy. And that's not the way it works. I was to find out later. Um, I had a lot of trial and error and a lot of suffering that I put myself through to lose weight because I was very overweight. I weighed 410 pounds at my heaviest. And I was pre diabetic, and I had a lot of other health conditions in addition to the chronic pain. But eventually, I started studying indigenous practices, indigenous ways of eating and living, and belief about the interconnectedness of all life. And I realized around 2015, I had from the medication that I was taking, I got an ulcer that I didn't know about. And it caused me to bleed out and almost die. And I spent weeks in the hospital with that, getting blood transfusions and all the things to correct it. And I had just started reading about indigenous culture, specifically the Andean culture, the shamans in the Andes, and how they viewed the world. And it was shortly after that I realized I didn't have all these medical problems. I actually had a harmony problem. I was living my life out of harmony, out of balance. And it really shifted my awareness to start looking at what is out of balance. How do I bring myself back into congruence with how humans are supposed to live on the earth? And I really use the Andean culture as kind of a model. I know it's not the only indigenous culture that lives in harmony, but that's the one that really resonated with me, right? And I started training. I went to a gathering of the shamans that kind of kicked it off in Sedona, Arizona, here in the U.S. A very famous kind of holy pilgrimage site for spiritual seekers. And I experienced miraculous healing. I knew that it was because of all the work that had led up to the point where I experienced the healing. But when I went to that gathering, I did some deep work around ancestral healing, and realized that our ancestors are here to help us do our work. Because when we do our work, we do their work. We break the chains of all the ancestral suffering and pain that has gone before, and will perpetuate unless we heal ourselves. That was kind of the premise of it, right? So I went into this workshop not really knowing what to expect, and I experienced an out-of-body experience where I felt connected to everything and nothing, and I kind of lost my sense of identity for a little while. And when I came back to myself, I looked around the room, and everybody looked like they were just as affected as I was. A lot of people were crying, and they were just trying to kind of come back to themselves. And I walked outside and put my bare feet on the earth, and that was the first time in 12 years that I felt no pain. It was gone.
Wow. So do you think that it was choice of your soul to experience too much pain to take action and change something in your life?
I think that's exactly what it was. It was a series of increasingly serious events that I had to go through because I wasn't listening. I wasn't getting the message. And what I've come to believe now is that pain is a messenger.
Yeah.
And we're taught from very young age that pain is bad, and that we should turn away from pain, and that we should do all the things we can to not experience pain. Make it go away, right? But what this teaching has shown me is that if we turn into the pain and we ask for the message, and we listen to the message and internalize it, do something about it, that's how we get the pain to go away.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it'll just keep coming back in different forms, right?
I agree with you totally, because illness or pain is like an indicator light in the car on your dashboard,
Mhm.
right? But if you smash that light and just ignore it, the pain will not go away, right? It is a
Exactly.
message. And do you think that it is also related to what you experience in your family when you were young, or maybe it's some kind of genetic or ancestral issues?
Yeah.
Uh,
Kind of all of the above. What I've come to believe is that um, pain repeats in a pattern
mm,
in this life and beyond this life. So unless we do the healing work and we have the courage to face that shadow work, then
yeah,
pain just layers on top of layers on top of layers. But there's a core wound, or maybe a few core wounds that exist, and we just keep patterning on top of them, right? So, what I've learned to do for myself and the shamanic training that I've had that I can now help others unlock and learn how to do for themselves is to repattern that core wound, to really go to the core of what is the pain that you're experiencing. Because the other connection is, the mind, body, spirit connection comes into this. And what I've learned is that pain becomes somatic, it goes into the body. Even if
yeah.
it's emotional or spiritual pain, if it's unaddressed, it becomes part of your body. And
Mm,
so, especially as men, we're kind of trained to, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, just move on. You don't have to deal with the pain. That makes you weak. Don't express emotion, all those things, right? The stoic model of a man. Well, you may decide to do all those things, but guess what, buddy? The pain's not going anywhere. It's going right into your body. And if you don't deal with it, it can become disease. Not
mm.
just chronic pain, but it can become disease, heart disease, cancer, all these things. And the cutting edge science right now is doing a lot of research to link persistent emotional distress, like chronic stress disorders, for example, to disease conditions like heart disease. So even in the scientific world, they're making this link. Now it's going to be a long time before they get to the point where they can actually form a treatment plan around this kind of thinking, but at least they're looking into it. This is something that the ancient cultures, going all the way back to the Inca for me, knew that this is how it works. And they knew that pain lives in this kind of emotional pain lives in your body, and it has to be expressed. It has to give its message, or you're not going to have a good life.
Yes, I think every generation have a challenge. For example, for my generation, it is totally different to be a man than
Mhm.
my father, my grandfather, my great grandfather, because there was totally different challenges in their
Yeah,
lives. And right now we need to learn to how to express emotions and how to be a father, husband, and
yeah,
it's totally different. So we are like explorers. We are finding a way how to be a
that's right.
man in this world. So it's sometimes not easy, I need to say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's what I've learned is obviously I don't believe that expressing emotion is weakness. Well, in fact, in the lineage that I was trained in, they make a distinction between feelings and emotions.
Mm,
So emotion is something that you just have in the moment. You feel it and it goes away. Almost more like animals in the wild experience emotion. You see an animal that goes into a stress situation, like being chased by a predator. And as soon as they get away and the predator's gone, they shake their body and they go back to normal,
yeah.
like nothing ever happened. Do we do that? Heck no, we don't do that. We hold on to things. So the emotions become feelings that then get stuck in our consciousness, and we revisit over and over and re-traumatize ourselves. This is something that's unique to only a few creatures on Earth, humans, and I've heard whales do this as well. They can't shake it off. They get stuck in this fight or flight mode. So this is a very unhealthy condition. And unfortunately, the world we live in is so chaotic and so violent sometimes that it's hard to even realize that we're getting stuck into this fight or flight condition. And it's one of the most unhealthy, dangerous things that we can do to our body is keep being in that stressed condition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because this Western society is so stressed and we don't have tools how to deal with this stress. So I'm in this area maybe 5 years, and I discovered that it's so much easier for you when you have tools how to release stress from your nervous system, and it's not so hard. You can do it only by breathing, but of course sometimes it's good to have help with someone. But I want to return to your story. There was like a lot of events, right? But what was the main event that you decide to change your life?
I think after I went to that gathering and I kind of took on a new vision of what was possible, because it was so extreme and it was so impactful to my health and healing journey that after that point I realized that absolutely anything is possible. So all of the inhibitions I had about, well, maybe I'll just try this or maybe I'll just try this, no, all that went away. And I knew that I could do whatever I needed to do to fully heal myself. And it kind of presented to me, because I was there with so many other people in community, that I could have a calling to help other people do the same thing I was learning, right? And so literally the next month, I went into this intense training program for 6 months where I learned the shamanic practices of the Andes, the Karo people in the Andes. And after the 6 month, and when I say intense, it was intense. It was like drinking from a fire hose every day, learning new things, trying to internalize it while I was learning it, trying to practice it while I was learning it with other people. And then after that, I was in Peru for 6 weeks, visiting the sacred sites with the knowledge keepers that formed the knowledge that I had learned. So it was like the capstone to the whole thing, going to Machu Picchu, going to several other sacred sites and going through the initiation rites again. And so what it has turned into now is I have this energy work practice where it's all about showing people not only what I learned to heal myself, but the main thing that I try to impart with the clients that I work with is, you can do this. You are the guru that you've been waiting for. You're the savior that you've been waiting for. You have the divine right and the capability within yourself to experience this miraculous healing. And part of it, a big part of it, is learning how to put your body into a regenerative state, which nobody teaches us. Right? Yeah. I mean, we can work out, we can eat right, we can do all these things in kind of this disconnected way. But unless we address this as a mind, body, spirit integrated whole problem or challenge, we're only going to make incremental improvements, right? You can be very physically fit and feel like that you're eating right, but your emotional life is a train wreck, right? Your relationships are terrible. You know, you feel unfulfilled in your work. And yet we're taught that all these things are separate. Guess what? They're not. They're not
No.
separate. We're one person with one experience. And unless we address all of it, we're always going to be seeking to fix something. Well, guess what? There's nothing to fix. All we have to do is get out of our own way and allow the natural harmony, beauty, and joy of the universe to come into us and stop blocking it. That's what I learned.
Yeah, I think life will be definitely more easier if this is a part of a primary school teaching, or we don't have this tradition in our culture, right? We don't have
Right.
this knowledge and wisdom, so we try to survive literally during our first 50 years, maybe, and
Yeah.
after we experience a lot of pain, then we start to look for some help and trying to find some guru or some mentor or coach, but nobody really can heal you.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's right. You have to do the work.
I think you said very important thing, that you can do it, right?
Mhm.
Because nobody will save you. No president, no government, nobody. So
Yeah.
I think we are on the very similar wavelength in this. And you mentioned a topic of health. So what does longevity mean to you?
Longevity means something very specific to me, and that is that your health age your health age and your chronological age match.
Mm.
Because who wants to live the last 30 years of their life in pain, disease, lack of energy, and really not having life? And yet in our Western culture, that's the norm,
Yeah.
right? Once we get over about 60 years old, we go downhill, but we're still alive and we're still around, right? You look at other cultures, it's not like that. I mean, there are people that are 90, 100 years old even, that are in exuberant health and don't have experienced disease. Why is that? That's what really intrigued me and really wanted me to understand. I think spirit was guiding me to really want to understand it's not just about what they eat. It's not just about their exercise. It's about the culture they live in, their belief systems, all of it. And that's my journey right now, currently, is to learn more and more and more about what does that mean to live in that way. And the shorthand I use for it is a regenerative lifestyle. So that whatever you encounter that sets you back, or anything that comes at you that's negative in any way, you recover from quickly, because your body is being given the support that it needs to do that. And what I've learned is from my mentors and also my own direct experience is if your body is in that state, you can recover from almost anything. Any disease condition. I've talked to people now, because I'm in the community that I'm in, that have recovered from, doctors telling them they have a 5% chance to live.
Wow.
And now today they're in exuberant health and they're experienced life and, in their later years like they never did when they were young. So like I was saying before, anything is possible. I really believe that, but you have to abandon all those beliefs that don't serve you and really start to put your body into a state of receiving, right? We're taught, especially as men, we have to go do, fix, build, create, make it happen. And what I found on my healing journey is the more I did that, the more I blocked the abundance that was trying to come into my life. So now I'm trying to let go, abandon, trust, surrender anything that doesn't serve me as soon as I encounter it in the moment. I don't stew on it and say, I'm going to go think about this, and that really made me mad. Experience the feeling, let it go. and then it doesn't kind of disrupt your flow, your through line of health and this kind of exuberant health and rejuvenation that you can experience continuously. And a big part of it is listening to your body. You develop a clarity where you can actually have a dialogue with your body. And for example, I mean, we're talking about a lot of kind of esoteric concepts here, but this one's very practical. Once you get to the point where you can have a dialogue with your body, it will tell you, among other things, what you should eat.
Yeah.
So all this stuff about diets that you hear, keto, paleo, carnivore, plant-based, whatever. My answer to all that is yes. Listen to your body and it will tell you what to eat.
I was talking about this topic with one scientist, and she said that we all have some specific genes, and it is also connected to our genetics. But I'm looking on this topic like you have a hardware and software. So hardware is our body, and software is our mind, consciousness, our subconscious mind. So you need to also repair your brain and have a good software, because when the software is damaged, also it affects your hardware, your body.
Yeah.
So definitely in your story you changed your software. And it is connected to your habits, because I think you changed a lot also in your diet. So what is maybe your daily routines? Sorry, and what do you change in your habits?
So I'm going to say some things that I do that may sound extreme to people, but realize that it's taken me 2 years of time to get to the point that I'm at now. And it was in constant dialogue with my body. So I'm going to bring that up in a second in terms of what that means going forward. So the way I eat right now is I do 18-6 intermittent fasting. So I fast for 18 hours and eat for 6. And I do that every day. And the reason I do that is because when your body is in ketosis, meaning it's not burning sugar, it's burning fat, for that period of time, it kicks in a process called autophagy, which is where your cells, they're called senescent cells or zombie cells. They're neither dead or alive. They're just in your body. Most people don't know this is happening. And you also have cells that are damaged or diseased all the time. It's part of the renewal process. So when you go into autophagy, it gives your body the chance to get rid of those cells naturally. But if you're never hungry and you never allow yourself to go into that autophagy state, then your body never recycles, or it does it on a very small basis, right? But in the West, we equate being hungry with being in pain. And it's something that has to stop. We have to do something to stop it, even if it means eating something from a fast food restaurant, just so that we're not hungry. That's a terrible way to deal with that situation, right?
Yeah, I think, sorry, we are addicted to food in our society.
Addicted, absolutely. Because we equate emotionally hungry with being, there's something wrong. It's almost like we're crying or something. We're sad. There's something in our body that's telling us you need to stop this. So how I got to this state in a sustainable way was by rebuilding my gut bacteria. And I never had anybody before tell me, before I went through this training, you need to have a healthy gut and you need to eat for your brain, to actually feed your brain. And so I can go into a lot more detail in that in another context, but when I did that, it gave me the ability to eat in this 18-6 fashion and not be hungry ever. I cannot eat for 3 or 4 days and not be. I'm not triggered by any food. I don't have any cravings, right? So things that I used to love. I use the birthday cake example, right? A lot of us as kids have memories of having birthday cake and everybody's around and everybody's happy. and there's this emotional connection
Yeah.
to that sweet, right? And so we think, oh, I'm going to have some of that because it'll make me feel that way subconsciously, right? So when you start to do this kind of program, this regenerative program, you start to break those emotional bonds that don't serve us. They don't make us healthy, right? And I can honestly say now that when I eat, it's a conscious choice. I'm going to eat this thing at this time in this amount. And it's life changing to have that capability. It's almost like a superpower. And I just love seeing it unlocked in other people as they start to work with me, or they start to, even not me, in other programs that teach this. And it blows their mind because they've never experienced anything like this before, to have that much command and that much presence in the face of food, because food is kind of like everybody's Achilles heel, right?
Yeah.
There's something that you really like to eat or drink, and you really need to have it often, right? But to have the ability to just say, no, I don't feel that anymore. I'm just going to eat what I need to eat for my body. And the last thing I'll say about that is it's led me over this 2-year period to be 100% plant-based.
Okay.
But because I listen to my body and I'm in dialogue with my body, if it told me tomorrow, eat this egg, I would do it.
Nice.
Because
nice.
that's the pact. So I know it might just be a temporary period of time that my body is saying eat this way. It might not. I don't really care, because I know that because I have this pact and this way of eating and my body's telling me what to eat, that I'm going to remain exuberantly healthy. So it's a very, very different way of living with food.
Yeah, I think, again, you said very important things, that you need to build a connection with your body and start to listen to your body, your intuition. And intuition is always speaking to us, but we are not listening, right?
Yes.
So if you could give just one piece of advice to our listeners to help them live a longer and healthier life, what would it be?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is to be kind to yourself. Once you commit to the path of changing and healing, you're going to have setbacks. And part of the process is being curious and experimenting, and not every experiment is going to be successful. So rather than beating yourself up and experiencing shame, be kind to yourself and do the process to start listening to your body and listening to your intuition, and it will guide you. So you're not alone. In fact, I believe it's impossible for you to be alone, because you're connected to the all that is. You're connected to source all the time. But we block it and we believe that we're alone and we're on this path alone. Guess what? You're not. So you have resources. You can listen to this guidance and it will put you on the right path. And your path is not going to be my path. I've learned things that I share with people, but your experience is going to be your experience. So just be kind to yourself above all.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have clients. How do you work with people and how do you help them?
Yeah, so I have a 12-week program I call Spirit Health Activation. And it really takes this mind-body approach and the philosophical and spiritual things that we talked about today, and puts it into a very practical program that you can follow from start to finish. And what I've seen is it kind of gives you the tools and the thinking to sustain this way of being in a regenerative state for the rest of your life. And that's kind of my main focus right now. But I also do one-on-one sessions with people for energy work. And I also have a men's group. We talked about men early on in the conversation. And what I aim to do with that is to try to give men a safe space to do this emotional work that they don't have any place else in their life, and really understand how how this emotional work can break them out of a lot of the repetitive patterns that don't serve them, and start to heal emotionally.
That is very important things for man in these days. We talked about it, and there is a saying that every man should have a vision. So, what is your vision of this work?
My vision is that I'll say it this way: there's a lot of pressure on all of us to engage in the chaos that we see around us, to pick a side, to be right and not wrong. And I believe that the only way forward for us as humans is to go inward and do our own work. And I've seen it happen now so many times that when somebody starts to do that, it affects everyone around them. So imagine if most of us were doing it. It was like dropping a rock in a pond and watching the ripples, right? The most profound thing that we can do to help other people is to do our own work, do this healing work, right? So that's my vision for the future, is if I can unlock that in a bunch of people, and then they start unlocking it in other people, that's how we get to kind of this new vision of a harmonious earth that we could all live in. But the more that we externalize our responsibility and make it something else, somebody else's problem, and I'm just going to go along with the crowd, that's what's been happening for the last 6,000 years, and it's brought us to this point. And guess what? It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I like it. I like your vision, really. So, Mark, where can people find you? Some social networks, website, other places. What are you currently planning, live or online?
Yeah, so I have a private Facebook group that you're going to post a link to that.
Yeah.
Everybody is welcome to come into that group. There's no obligation there. It's just people that are either practitioners of some kind or they're interested and curious can come into that group. I have anybody who thinks that they might want to work with me. I have a no obligation way to have a short chat and decide if what I do can help you or not. And I'll tell you, because this isn't about collecting clients to me. It's about how can I help you? And if I can, I'll tell you. But I'm also part of a network of a lot of other practitioners. So I might be able to refer you to somebody else who can help you, right? And then finally, the last thing is I have, I think you're going to post a link to, I have a waiting list for the next 12-week program because it runs continuously, start to stop, right? So I'm right in the middle of one right now. So in 6 weeks, I'll be starting another one. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up for that wait list.
Yes, so I will put links into the description. And Mark, really, I need to say thank you. It was a very inspiring story and a lot of good stuff in a short period of time. And I love to talk with you in the next topics. We can plan something because I feel that you have a lot of insights, very good insights. So definitely, please, people, you can ask some questions in the chat, in the comments, or if you have some suggestions for another topics, feel free to ask in the comments and hit subscribe, and maybe we will see in another interview. So thank you, Mark. If you want to say something on the end, you have the space.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to say thank you for having me. I get really excited when I'm able to present this information. This is my passion. So any questions are fine. Nothing is out of bounds because we're all different, and your question is the most important thing to you, right?
Yeah.
And that might be what leads you into the path that you need to be on. So don't be afraid to ask. It could be anything.